I'm Adrienne.
And I'm Addie.
And we're from the Santa Barbara Middle School Teen Press, here with...
I'm BØRGE OUSLAND. I'm Norwegian.
Hi. So there's a video of you encountering a polar bear. You shot a flare gun at it to scare away. Couldn't you have just fired the flare gun in the air, or did you need to fire it at the polar bear?
Well, we actually missed the polar bears.
Yeah.
We didn't didn't hit it on that occasion, but we have done it in the past. And it looks, of course, painful, but it isn't. Polar bear has about 2 inches of fat, and in addition 2 inches of thick fur to keep him warm during the winter. So so he wouldn't have felt anything if we had shot directly at it. It's actually the best way to do it, because you need to show him who is the boss, or that you don't want to encourage him to come back, so you really want to scare him away to protect him.
I saw a video where you said that when you were crossing Antarctica, you really met your feelings. Were there any other emotional obstacles that you had to cross?
Yeah, you get afraid, and you feel lonely, and you feel homesick, and you want to give up, and you have all these emotions, which in one way is negative emotions, but in the other way it's a part of me. I have to accept them. So I think the secrets of dealing with such moments is to know that, well, it's happening, but it's really it's kind of irrational fear, because it's not a dangerous situation you're afraid of. It's something inside you, and the way to deal with that, I feel, at least for me, has been to work on these feelings and to try to get a better and bigger perspective on it, and also know that it will pass if you give it some time. So maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but maybe after a week. So the secret is to just keep on going.
Yeah.
That's the secret. Keep on going. Don't give up.
So you go on a lot of excursions to very cold places. Why do you always go to places that are cold?
Well, one reason for that is because I like the cold, and I'm able to cope with it and learn that from experience. And if you shall be good at something, you have to do that fully. If I was going to spread around on the desert and jungle and all sorts of things, I will just be average in all these fields, and I wouldn't be able to do this hard expedition, because then you have to be concentrated, focused, and do that fully and only.
You say that being alone on these expeditions makes you reach levels inside of you that you didn't know existed. What is one of these levels of yourself that has surprised you?
Well, that is really the feeling of being as close to nature as I ever have been, where I guess kind of feeling like a Stone Age man, like an animal. Sometimes I feel just like an animal. I sniff the air, I look at the sun, and immediately pick out the best route to go. And that happens typically after a month on the trek alone. When you've been alone for a long time, you become part of the nature. And that feeling, I think, is one of the most beautiful feelings I had, because here we're always surrounded by other people, buildings, and we're so proud of what we've made, but nothing beats the nature, and to understand and feel so deeply that this is what we are. We are part of nature, and this is me and nature in almost one person. So I think that's one of the depths I'm talking about.
So we read that you regularly lead small groups on expeditions into wilderness areas that you have already explored on your own. How do you ensure that people who pay to go with you are actually up to the challenge?
Well, we do have on this trip we organize and guide. We do have a training trip beforehand, so we take them on this excursion, not really to test them out physically, but to prepare them for what they're going to meet. And if we feel that they are not up to the standards, or maybe should choose something else, we tell them, or we find another way and encourage them to maybe do something else.
Your website equipment list says that your organization provides such special equipment that expedition members might not otherwise be able to find. Would this be something like the two-part articulated sleds that you used in your winter trip to the North Pole with Mike Horn? What equipment would fall in this category for your South Pole last degree trip, and how much of it is your own design?
From my own design is the suit I use to swim across open water. That is my own design. I made that to make it actually safer to reach the North Pole, because then you can always take on your suit and you don't have to take so much chances on thin ice. So I think that's the most important piece of equipment I have developed, but also sleds to make it more efficient and in the ice. And it's strange, I haven't thought of it before, but it's much better to have two small sled than one big one, because when you're pulling one big sled across, it's just bulky and long and heavy, and when you're pulling jointed sled, the first one, which it goes open across a pressure ridge, and the first one will pull the other with him. And you save a lot of energy. I've done expeditions for 20 years before I found this out. I'm stupid. But it means that there's always something to learn. Yeah. Always.
So we read that you make your own enriched oatmeal and porridge mix. What is in that?
It's a secret recipe, but well, I'll tell you what's in it. It's oatmeal, obviously. And it's a bit of brown sugar. I'm not a big fan of white sugar, so I have the brown cane sugar to sweeten it, get some extra calories. And then there is milk powder, and then there is some raisins, and there is some fat. And that fat is actually oil, just like could be corn oil or something like that. You just mix it inside with the porridge, and you only need to add hot water, and then you have ready breakfast, ready porridge.
We are about to go on a week-long biking and camping trip, something that we do several times a year. When you go on a trip, what is something that you can never leave home without?
Well, never is a big question, of course, but I think the most important thing is to go, and in most cases you will be able to deal with the situation. But on a biking trip, and also on most trips, I would take a multi-tool like a Leatherman and something like that, and some sports tape, because you might get blisters, and the sports tape you can use for repairing something, and it's also part of your medical kit. And always try to bring things that has two purposes.
So one of the things you do while you're on expeditions is photography for National Geographic, among others. When you're traveling solo, how do you set up your photos, and what sort of equipment do you use? Would that photo equipment be something you'd recommend we use on our school trips?
Yes, absolutely. Nowadays you have so much good cameras, and you can pick any kind really, as long as it's a high quality camera. Before we used film camera, and you had to be much more careful which photos you took, because you only had 36 pictures in before you had to change the roll, and that's a big deal in the cold. Now we can take hundreds of photos, but the funny thing is that I actually took better photos when I had film than now with digital, for some reason. But the secret with having a camera is to have it ready and available in your pockets, not stack it away in the bottom of your backpack, and to take a lot of pictures in different situations, and be up close. Don't move away, be up close and take various angles to make it more exciting.
We read that last year you were married literally at the North Pole. That sounds romantic and exciting, and very isolated. Yet it seems that an English explorer, Mark Wood, arrived just that time via skis. What was that like, and what other unexpected events have you experienced in the wilderness?
Well, I think that the meeting was a bigger experience or shock for him than for me, Mark Woods, because he came skiing alone to the North Pole, and there was us just been wedded and had firecrackers and champagne and everything. So So he was hilarious when he got the glass of champagne and joined the party. So, but I think maybe well, it's lots of funny things that happened. One time I met a sheikh at the North Pole. It's not a real sheikh, but he had his traditional Arab dress, and now he's become a good friend of mine. And also when we crossed the Franz Josef Land expedition, we met a lot of tourists suddenly. Who some of them came from the States actually, so that was also a big shock.
Cue the polar bear.
We have a term in English that translates literally into Norwegian as botelista, or bucket list. It means a list of things that you want to do before you die.
So we have a bucket that has ice in it, and we've already put in become a polar explorer, unassisted crossing of Antarctica, journey to the South Pole, journey to the North Pole in the dead of winter, circumnavigate the northern passage of the Arctic, and get married in the North Pole. And in the bucket. Is there anything else you would like to add into that you haven't done yet?
Well, yes, I do have a big project, and that is to cross all the big glaciers in the world, all the 20 big glaciers in the world. So that is something I work on, and the nice part about that project that it doesn't really have any ending. You can go as far down on the list as you want to, so I can just keep on exploring. Yeah. So it's a beautiful project, but initially it's the 20 biggest. So the next one is to cross Novaya Zemlya in Siberia, which is the biggest glacier in Europe. So we're working on that trip. And for now, that is about... and then I want to spend more time in Norway. Travel all the world, but I always come back to Norway. Norway and also Patagonia, which I will go in November to do another trip.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for great questions.
Yeah. Thanks.
Wow, that was icy.
What was that noise?